Part 89. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 891. In the chaos, Wu Yu used the somersault cloud to stabilize his body. He now wrapped himself, Yezixi and Lazy Cat in the somersault cloud. The somersault cloud has countless magical uses, and protecting himself in this way is just one of them. Yezixi was buried in the cloud and didn't dare to look out. The Lazy Cat was also trembling with fear. Only Wu Yu still insisted on using the fire eyes and golden pupils to watch the battle between the ancient demon god and the super magic array. The ancient demon god launched the first critical attack just now and almost broke the magic array. This kind of divine power was more fierce than Wu Yu imagined. However, in the end, the Yanhuang people still relied on the magic array established by their ancestors to suppress the ancient demon god. At this time, the ancient demon god was under siege by the magic array. For a while, the ancient demon god seemed to fall into silence under the crazy bombardment of the magic array. Is it going to fail? Wu Yu guessed. In fact, if he hadn't reminded her in advance, the current super magic circle, relying on autonomous operation, would only have half of its current power at most. Then the attack of the ancient demon god just now would be enough to break out of this lava hell. Although he only sent out a communication talisman, the effect was still quite huge. Fortunately, Yezixi couldn't see clearly and didn't understand the details, otherwise Wu Yu would be afraid that she would blame him. The super magic circle should be able to suppress the ancient demon god, and Wu Yu was relieved. At least it wouldn't cause a huge disaster to the outside world. Roar. Unexpectedly, just when he was a little relieved, there was another change. The ancient demon god was suppressed by the magic circle with all his strength, and he went crazy again, ignoring all attacks and killings, and fiercely went up to the top of the magic circle, waving his fists and launching a violent attack. It can be said that just now, the Ghost Flame clan who did not perfectly control this body suffered a defeat, but this does not mean that the ancient demon god is not good. After the actual combat exploration, after the Holy Lord of the Demon Hell Cave and others had a better control of this body, the ancient demon god burst out with truly terrifying power. At this time, he was like a real immortal, or a ghost god. It was not a simple punch, but hundreds of punches in an instant. These attacks were all real, bombarding this magic circle. Wu Yu was deeply shocked. The outbreak of the ancient demon god certainly brought the power that made the Yanhuang clan feel terrified. The Yanhuang clan in the 9 fortresses felt at this time that the terrifying beast-like existence was right under their feet. The impact again and again made everyone stagger. They clearly saw the ground cracking and the entire Yanlong fort was collapsing. Boom boom boom. It seemed that the whole world was collapsing. From a higher altitude, you can see that the 10,000 demons subduing heavenly absolute array is rapidly breaking apart, and at the same time, the 9 fortresses that are the core of the array are also being torn apart. When the people of the demon sealing fortress are now under several times the previous attack, they finally understand why the Yanhuang ancient emperor personally gave the order. Even the regent king's face changed drastically at this moment. Of course, he knew that they still underestimated the ancient demon god. After the first suppression, the opponent became even more powerful and terrifying. At this moment, it directly transcended their control over the array. Can't hold on. Evacuate. Everyone evacuate. Under the order of the regent king, the defeat of the Yanhuang clan was announced this time. This is truly unprecedented in the history of the ages. After the retreat order was issued, the face of the regent king Dishishan was hot, and the other princes, ministers, civil officials, military generals, and local lords were also like this at this moment. They felt ashamed to see their ancestors. Shocked, terrified, depressed, stunned. Not only them, but all the Yanhuang people couldn't believe that the defense line was broken so quickly. The Yanhuang people had never experienced defeat, so at this moment, such a blow was too huge for them. They watched helplessly as the 9 fortresses were torn apart one by one and swallowed by the lava underground. They watched helplessly as this vast land collapsed along with the magic array arranged by the Yanhuang people of all generations and fell into the lava hell. All the Yanlong Legion, follow me and retreat as soon as possible. Chuyin's sad voice echoed in the ears of the Yanhuang people's Yanlong guards. Of course, even if they were defeated, depressed, and stunned, when their lives were threatened, they fled at a very fast speed. For a while, when the magic array collapsed, tens of millions of Yanhuang people fled around like wasps, and the 9 fortresses were like a wasp nest on fire. This is a historic scene. The earth cracked, countless magmas rushed up into the sky, and the sky was surrounded by thick dust. The gorgeous and dazzling magic circle collapsed, and the 9 magnificent and huge Yanhuang fortresses fell into the magma underground and were swallowed by the magma. Countless Yanhuang people fled in all directions like wasps, and the speed of this escape was quite fast. Even the regent, all the princes and ministers were fleeing. It is unimaginable that they will have a scene of escaping. At this time, their hearts were blank, and they did not expect the scene to happen. Of course, they are not ashamed, because what they are facing is not the power of the Ghost Flame clan itself, nor the power of the human world, but the gods and ghosts. Even if it may be just a corpse, it is not something they can fight against. Since the Ghost Flame clan took control of the ancient demon god, it was destined that they would be able to tear the magic circle here and rush out to the outside world. When the Yanhuang clan was fleeing frantically, they looked back in panic. What they saw was that where the 9 fortresses sank, a huge skull gradually emerged in the boiling magma. They realized what kind of monster they had just suppressed. The head, then the body, the arms, and finally, when the giant came out completely and stood between heaven and earth, his head was indeed on top of the clouds in the sky. At this time, countless magmas were bursting out from the ground, washing over his body, and countless thick smoke enveloped him, approaching his body, making a sizzling sound. His pair of green eyes swept over everyone, making all the fleeing Yanhuang people shudder. What kind of monster is this? The Ghost Yan clan came out of the lava hell. I saw that they were all in the body of this monster. How could there be such a monster in the lava hell? What should we do with the ancient Yanhuang country? For a while, the atmosphere of panic filled the world. The Yanhuang clan ruled this world for a long time, but when this monster appeared, they had a feeling that their doomsday was coming. This reminded them of the devouring demon ancestor countless years ago. The devouring demon ancestor was very old, but it was precisely because of his existence that the entire Yanfa world fell into a catastrophe. The regent and others were standing in the distance at this moment, their faces pale, not daring to say a word. Everyone looked at each other, and finally looked at the regent, but even Emperor Shishin looked similar at this time. This is the difference between mortals and immortals. Even half-immortals are just ants. Compared with the fear, panic, and depression of the Yanhuang people, when the giants stood on the ground in the outside world, when they saw the endless, magnificent world with rich spiritual energy outside through their pores, all the Ghost Yan people, without exception, were crazy like demons, and cried with joy. At this moment, no matter men, women, young or old, enemies or friends, they all gathered together crazily, cheering, shouting, roaring, and countless laughter came from the ancient demon god. My Ghost Flame clan has finally seen the light of day again. We have seen the light of day again. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. I have lived in the lava hell since I was a child. The outside world is only in legends. I didn't expect that today, I would actually see this world one day. This outside world is really big and beautiful. We won. Laughing, tears welled up in their eyes, kneeling on the ground and trembling. Some even rolled on the ground and laughed. Some cut themselves a few times and smeared blood all over their bodies, shouting wildly. Long live the ancient demon god! Demon saint, all the saints, have infinite merits and live forever. For a while, someone took the lead, and billions of Ghost Flame clan shouted wildly. For a while, the sound spread to several prefectures. The Yanhuang clan who heard the news were trembling under this magnificent and exciting voice. Those Yanhuang clan regarded the Ghost Flame clan as hunting targets. They never thought that there would be such a day. Demon Saint, all the saints, quickly let the ancient demon god kill all the Yanhuang people. From today on, the ancient country of Yanhuang is ours. Kill all the Yanhuang people. Those who can't be killed will all become our slaves. We want to control the ancient country of Yanhuang and return everything that the Yanhuang people gave us. We want all the Yanhuang people to pay the price. Kill all their men and let their women give birth to the descendants of our Giyan people. With the ancient demon god, we are invincible. We want to dominate the entire world of Yanfu. Let all the people and demons in this world bow down to our Giyan people. Our Giyan people will become the first tribe in this world of Yanfu. This day is just around the corner. Demon Saint, you are the emperor of our Giyan people. Do it. This is our chance for revenge. For a while, almost all the Giyan people screamed miserably, they laughed and jumped, as if they had taken hallucinogenic drugs, crying and laughing, and their eyes were slowly bloodshot. They saw the women of the Yanhuang people, white and tender, and couldn't help but get even crazier. Perhaps, this is what Wu Yu is worried about. The Ghost Flame clan fights against fate, which is worthy of respect, but Wu Yu does not like them, and even hates them. They have great hatred and blood, and once they have strength, they will be devils. At this moment, the devil has come to the world of Yama. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 892. At this moment, the Ghost Flame clan is immersed in the dream of dominating the world. The 20 or so people in the mouth and tongue of the ancient demon god are now the core of the Ghost Flame clan, and most of them are the Holy Master. At this time, these old men hugged each other, and each of them looked excited and had tears in their eyes. Like the other Ghost Flame tribes, they cried and laughed, even rolling and piling up on the tongue. They greedily breathed the air outside and made intoxicated expressions. What a wonderful world! We have the ancient demon god. This world is ours. Yes, as the children said, we have been insulted for too long. It is time to let the world know that our Ghost Flame clan is back. With so many people from the Yanhuang tribe, they have all become our cultivation resources, which is enough. This is our world. Although they could still stabilize their emotions, there was actually more turbulent madness and flames in their eyes. They looked greedily at the whole world, at the men and women of the Yanhuang tribe who were looking at them blankly, and compared to the Giyan tribe, they look really thin and tender. In front of these people, the Holy Lord of Moyan Cave opened his mouth slightly and his eyes were filled with tears. He looked at the magnificent world in front of him. He said nothing and his body trembled slightly. Next to him, there was a beautiful Giyan tribe woman, leaning on him. She was also so shocked, but she shed more tears. At this moment, she said, "Chi Kiran, it would be great if Zixi could see such a wonderful world, so where did she go at this important moment?" After saying that, tears fell down. "She will come back, I believe," the Holy Master of Moyan Cave said with a little choked up. "Yes," she nodded and said, "What about you, what are you going to do? Kill the Yanhuang tribe?" The Holy Lord leaned close to her ear, shook his head and said, "They are too naive, thinking that they can rule the world in this way. Although we have come out, the strongest person in this world has not shown up yet. I have confidence in the ancient demon god. But until ancient Emperor Yanhuang dies, we won't be truly freed. Now we'd better find a place to hide quickly." He looked back and saw that the madness displayed by the Ghost Flame clan now made him a little disappointed. In fact, from beginning to end, he seemed to be the only one fighting against fate. Before others could react, he manipulated the ancient demon god and gave the ancient demon god an order to leave here as soon as possible and go north. At this time, it was when Wu Yu took Yezixi out of the lava hell. At this time, the magic circle in the lava hell was destroyed. Of course, Yezixi could come out. The moment she came out, see when she went to the vast world outside and saw a large number of Yanhuang tribe in the distance, as well as the clearly visible huge ancient demon god, she was stunned for a while, then tears fell down, and she cried, "This is the one outside the world? I actually came out." She was in disbelief. Wu Yu also couldn't believe it. He didn't expect that the Ghost Flame clan had really succeeded in coming out, and that the ancient demon god really had such power. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, it would be hard for him to believe it. Now, he is in the same mood as other Yanhuang tribe, very depressed, but Yezixi is excited. Her world is very beautiful. At this time, she did not hear the voices of other Giyan tribe. She thought that the Giyan tribe can find an unmanned person. Land, live in peace. At this time, Wu Yu saw that the ancient demon god was heading north, and it seemed that he was leaving here. When this movement just started, Wu Yu vaguely heard that a large number of ghost flame tribesmen on the ancient demon god were making a noise. Probably wanted the ancient demon god to massacre the surrounding Yanhuang tribe, but the manipulator didn't seem to agree, and there was a dispute above, which made it very confusing for a while. "Brother Yu, it's time for me to leave. My father and the others are leaving, and I have to follow them." Yezixi wiped away her tears and said nervously. Of course she still wants to follow her parents now. Wu Yu has warned her a lot before, but he can't stop her at this time. He said, "Remember, you must let your father find a deserted place to survive, and never have any conflicts with the Yanhuang tribe. The war is not beneficial to both sides." Speaking of the latter part, he felt a little guilty. It was the Ghost Flame clan who controlled this godlike power now. With such power and their character, why wouldn't they take revenge? Why not regard the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, which is the most fertile and has the most spiritual energy, as their territory? Go Wu Yu found that he was too weak and couldn't control him at all. "We will definitely meet. Goodbye." The ancient demon god was about to leave, and she was also anxious and wanted to go there immediately. The other Yanhuang people relaxed a little when they saw that the ancient demon god didn't seem to have any intention of killing. At this moment, bite! Wu Yu heard the crisp sound of a sword coming from the sky. That sound was really sharp. It kept echoing in the ears. It felt like the whole ear and even the whole head were about to be torn apart. At this moment, not only Wu Yu, but everyone also covered themselves in pain like Wu Yu. Cover your ears. Including the regent, princes, and ministers, etc. Including the Holy Lord of Moyan Cave and other holy lords, they were making a noise and besieging the demon saint. Unexpectedly, this sudden sound made their faces change drastically. "He's here." "You're satisfied?" the demon saint sneered. "Here we come, the ancient demon god will still be killed," the other holy lords disagreed. Wu Yu immediately stretched out his hand to hold Yezixi, and pulled her away. While pulling her, he said, "Don't go there." "What's wrong? Who showed up?" Yezixi covered her ears and asked in pain. Wu Yu looked at the sky. Above the ancient demon god, there was a golden light spot. The light spot was small, but very dazzling. When he looked up, he couldn't see anything clearly, but the thrilling feeling was extremely shocking. It was this light spot that made it difficult for him to breathe. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. As expected, it's the ancient Emperor Yanhuang. When Wu Yu said this name, his throat seemed to be stuck, and he felt very uncomfortable. His intuition told him that he had to pull Yezixi away quickly, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. "That's the emperor of your Yanhuang clan, who is said to be like an immortal." Yezixi raised her head slightly, then lowered her head immediately, not daring to look up. She knew that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang must have come for the ancient demon god. If she went there at this time, it would probably be the time when the two would fight. Wu Yu was worried that she would be affected. It's him. Wu Yu moved quickly. At this time, the lava hell was very noisy. Everyone was paying attention to the ancient demon god and the golden spot in the sky. No one saw Wu Yu at all. People of Yanhuang, pay homage to the eternal emperor. Long live the ancient emperor, long live the ancient emperor. When the ancient emperor Yanhuang appeared, the Yanhuang people finally put aside the sorrow on their faces and became extremely excited. For a moment, everyone fell to the ground, kneeling on their knees, prostrating themselves, shouting loudly in unison, with a pious face, just like seeing a real immortal, no different. Even the regent, who was the younger brother of the ancient emperor, was like this at this time. Wu Yu was not born in Yanhuang, and did not know what kind of divine power the ancient emperor Yanhuang had, so he did not quite understand why they were so crazy about the ancient emperor, and he received the ancient emperor's imperial edict and therefore obtained a lofty position. Wu Yu did not kneel down, he was a little uncomfortable. At this moment, he hid in the eruption of magma, protecting Yezixi, and barely looked up at the sky. At this time, the golden light seemed to be closer to the ancient demon god. The man was shrouded in golden light, and it was difficult to see what he looked like. Wu Yu's fiery eyes could not penetrate. All he could see was a dragon robe, an imperial crown, and a pair of eyes. The left eye was like the sun, burning with golden color, and the right eye was like the moon, calm and blue. It was just a flash, and he couldn't see anything clearly. However, when he appeared, even though his divine might was invisible, it forced Wu Yu to lower his head, and even had the urge to kneel down. He shook his head and continued to watch. At the moment when everyone knelt down, the ancient demon god seemed to have found a real opponent. At this moment, he let out a shocking roar, raised his arms, and roared, and was about to fight the ancient emperor Yanhuang. Inside the body of the ancient demon god, the ghosts and flames knew that this was the strongest person in the world of Yanfu, and they went crazy for a while. They were very brave. At this time, they continued to shout wildly, roaring, arrogant, and wanted the ancient demon god to kill the ancient emperor Yanhuang. Only by killing the ancient emperor Yanhuang can our ancient demon god shake the world and scare all the cultivators, demons, and ghost cultivators. Only by taking his imperial crown can we become the new imperial clan. Holy lords, hurry up and take the ancient emperor Yanhuang. We must avenge the ghost Yan clan. This is the best opportunity. Kill him. Kill. Roaring, ferocious, crazy, bloodshot eyes, people even wanted to rush out and fight the ancient emperor Yanhuang. No matter how the ancient demon god reacted to his rage, the ancient emperor Yanhuang was still shrouded in golden smoke. Wu Yu could only see that there was a coldness in the smoke, as if there was a sword energy brewing, but that sword energy was not like the sword energy in the mortal world. It flickered again and again, just like the thunder of Juyueji's tribulation last time. It's not that the appearance is the same, but the level is the same. Is he a real immortal? Wu Yu's eyes were confused. In the past, he thought that Haoshan Shangxian was a god, but later he found out that he was not. So now he wants to ask, is this Yanhuang ancient emperor a god? Now, there is no answer. Minglong said, maybe. But Wu Yu knew that if one day he could match this Yanhuang ancient emperor, he would know the real answer. And at this moment, the ancient demon god moved, roaring, just like the super magic circle before the destruction, soaring into the sky, and punching the Yanhuang ancient emperor. This is probably the contest between the two strongest beings in the mortal world, which broke out in front of Wu Yu. What will the result be? Wu Yu has no idea. The fastest update website for this book is yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 893. At this moment, while bowing and shouting, the Yanhuang people also quietly raised their heads to see the battle between the Yanhuang ancient emperor and the ancient demon god in the center of the lava hell. Wu Yu even withstood the overwhelming pressure of the Yanhuang ancient emperor, and wanted to see the battle clearly with his fire eyes and golden pupils, but what made him depressed was that even with his fire eyes and golden pupils, he could not see the golden mist around the Yanhuang ancient emperor and could only see a pair of eyes, like the sun and the moon in the sky. Buzz in the sword energy around the Yanhuang ancient emperor, this immortal level battle suddenly broke out. Wu Yu narrowed his eyes. At that moment, he saw an incredible scene, that is, the body of the Yanhuang ancient emperor suddenly expanded from the size of an ordinary person. The process of this enlargement was like Wu Yu's Fa Tian Xiang Di, of course, the magnitude was much larger than Fa Tian Xiang Di. Originally, he was only the size of an ant in front of the ancient demon god. However, at this moment, the golden mist expanded rapidly, and within a breath, the Yanhuang ancient emperor had grown to at least half the height of the ancient demon god. Although not as tall as the ancient demon god, for Wu Yu and his people, he was also a giant. It felt like a stomp of his foot could make the huge city collapse directly. As huge and boundless as a mountain that could support the sky. However, even if it changed into such a state, the Yanhuang ancient emperor was still surrounded by golden mist. Wu Yu's fiery eyes could only see what he could see before. The Yanhuang ancient emperor was still like a mystery. But at this moment, at least in the eyes of Wu Yu and other laymen, the Yanhuang ancient emperor seemed to be really qualified to fight with this ancient demon god. Such changes, of course, amazed the Ghost Yan clan. They only heard about the Yanhuang ancient emperor in rumors, and those rumors were all from the Yanhuang clan of the 8 legions. In the explosive fight, in the first moment, the Yanhuang ancient emperor became extremely huge, towering over the head of the ancient demon god. In the second moment, the ancient demon god attacked violently, and the whole sky was shaking with one punch. Evil demon, retreat quickly. Between the sky and the earth, a sound rang out, brilliant, so loud, like the sound of a bell. The Yanhuang ancient emperor seemed to put his hands together, and pushed his palms from top to bottom. Suddenly, a golden giant sword penetrated from his hands and fell from the sky, like a golden catastrophe. On the blade of the golden giant sword, there were densely packed, tens of millions of runes shining. These ancient runes were constantly changing, and the power and speed of this golden giant sword were also unprecedentedly terrifying. With one sword, the earth collapsed. All the Yanhuang people were unable to dodge and died in such a sword energy. Although Wu Yu had already hidden far away, he felt that death was so close to him at this moment. He had a hunch that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang seemed even more terrifying. In fact, the speed of their battle and the speed of the sword energy were much faster than Wu Yu's thinking speed. Everyone saw that in the trembling of heaven and earth, the huge body of the ancient demon god directly collided with the golden sword energy that fell from the sky. The sword energy made a harsh whistle, and the golden light shone. Countless flames shone on the metal-like sword body. Boom! People saw it with their own eyes, and Wu Yu also saw it with his own eyes. The sword energy instantly penetrated the body of the ancient demon god. When the golden light surged through the body of the ancient demon god and engulfed the dark body in the golden sword light, Wu Yu suddenly heard the screams of countless Ghost Yan clan. This stunned him instantly. Then, his mind went blank, and he saw with his own eyes that the ancient demon god disintegrated instantly. This time, it was divided into hundreds of parts by the golden sword energy, and fell into the magma below, splashing huge waves of magma and rushing towards the surroundings. In each fragment, there are a large number of Ghost Flame clan, Some are already dead, some are seriously injured, with broken hands and feet, and some even have a part of their body broken off. They are either thrown out by the fragments and smashed into the magma alone. Those who are not dead are struggling all the way, or they are still in the fragments and sink into the lava hell together. This process is accompanied by panic screams. Those are the screams of billions of Ghost Flame Clan. There is probably no more miserable and desperate scream in the world than this. Even the demon hell cave has been divided into 4 neat pieces. It can be seen that the city structure inside has basically been destroyed. Even if these fragments return to the lava hell, it will be difficult to rebuild the city like before. With one sword from the ancient Emperor Xuanhuan, the ancient demon god was shattered. What a divine power! The fragments of the ancient demon god are billions of Ghost Flame Clan, which fell into the lava hell together, splashing magma all over the sky. The arrogant Ghost Flame Clan before, now only had fear, crying, and howling. Nothing could make people more desperate than falling into hell in an instant after just being freed. Moreover, they clearly saw that many people around them died in this sword energy. At this time, almost all the Ghost Flame Clan were confused. Their faces were pale and they could not even feel the pain on their bodies. They fell into the lava hell in a daze and let the familiar magma swallow them again. Perhaps they could realize what was happening now. Perhaps, this scene was not unexpected by all the Xuanhuan clan. They were full of incredible confidence in the legendary Xuanhuan ancient emperor. They had never heard that there was nothing the ancient emperor Xuanhuan couldn't do. When the ancient emperor killed the ancient demon god in an instant, they cheered. Tens of millions of people cheered and shouted, and the Ghost Yan clan cried and howled tragically. A sharp contrast. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Only Wu Yu, whose expression at this time was just like when he saw the ancient demon god appearing, was completely immersed in deep shock. He watched numbly as the fragments were swallowed up by the lava hell again, and stared dumbly at the Xuanhuan the ancient emperor, with a horizontal sword, dominates the world, and his godlike posture makes people breathless. Even though there were a lot of cheers and cries, Wu Yu felt that the world was still dead silent. His eyes stayed on the Xuanhuan ancient emperor, and he couldn't move his eyes away. However, this doesn't seem to be over yet. Father, mother. Wu Yu heard Yezixi's panicked voice. He came back to his senses and was shocked to see that when the ancient demon god was cut into pieces and then sank into the lava hell, the ancient emperor Xuanhuan was slightly with a wave of his hand, more than 20 old men flew out from among the fragments of the corpse. With a sharp look, they were basically the strongest men of the Ghost Flame clan, and among them, the Holy Lord of Moyan Cave was at the front. 1. There was a woman next to her, who was obviously Yezixi's mother. The faces of these people were painful, similar to other Giyan tribesmen. They were still in disbelief. They did not leap up on their own initiative, but were controlled by the ancient Emperor Xuanhuan. At this time, all the Giyan tribesmen basically followed suit. The fragments of the ancient demon god fell into the lava hell. Only these 20 or so people were controlled and flew towards the huge Xuanhuan ancient emperor. As long as the Giyan clan who fell into the lava hell are still alive, they will see the corpses and wounded around them and think of the terror of the Xuanhuan ancient emperor. Even if the protective magic circle is gone, they can still rush out, but they can't dare. Run away, run away. Let's go, we lost. They panicked, lost their minds, and headed towards the depths of the lava hell like zombies. At this time, even if they were tied up, they did not dare to leave the lava hell. When they were most confident, they were defeated by a sword. At this time, the Xuanhuan ancient emperor's eyes, which were like the sun and the moon, were staring at the holy lords of the Ghost Flame clan. These holy lords, even the old ones, were all frightened to the point of peeing, and they knelt down to beg for mercy. Please ask the ancient emperor to leave us a way to survive. We made a big mistake this time. We are not the ones who made the decision. Awakening this ancient demon god was all done by the demon saint himself. Ancient Emperor, please spare us. We will never dare to make mistakes again. We will definitely hide in the depths of the lava hell. We will never dare again. They were regarded as holy masters, and at this time their hearts were completely defeated. Don't move. Wu Yu stretched out his hand and hugged Yazixi tightly. She was so impulsive that she was about to rush towards her parents. Like Wu Yu, she didn't expect to be defeated so easily. She had grown up doted on and had never experienced such a thrilling experience. When she saw her parents being controlled, she was completely panicked. You can't change anything. Save your own life first. Wu Yu had to stop her, because he could probably understand the intention of the ancient Yanhuang Emperor at this time. He definitely wanted to kill the Holy Lord of Moyan Cave as a warning to others. He had already been defeated, and his craziest plan had been defeated head-on. It's a miracle that people can survive, and Wu Yu can't save them, so the only thing he can do now is to hold Yazixi down so that she doesn't die. Brother Yu, please save them, wow. Yazixi struggled to no avail and lay in Wu Yu's arms, crying loudly. She didn't dare to look at the sky, her whole body was trembling. Perhaps this was the most fearful thing in her life. But she still turned around and looked. I gave the Ghost Flame clan a chance, but you didn't cherish it. This time, I will use the lives of your 20-odd holy masters as punishment for the Ghost Flame clan. This will tell all the Ghost Flame clan in the lava hell that you are imprisoned. The race cannot escape the lava hell for eternity, otherwise, death is the only outcome. The deep voice of the Yanhuang ancient emperor stirred between heaven and earth. Bang bang bang. The 20-odd people, in a moment of incomparable shock and panic, their flesh and blood bodies were blown to pieces and fell into the lava hell. Of course, all the fleeing Ghost Flame tribe below heard it. The holy lords are all dead. All the Ghost Flame tribe's souls seemed to have been scattered. Yesterday, I made a mistake in the chapter number, missing chapter 881, which does not affect reading. The chapter content is coherent, but I wrote the title wrong. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 894. The Yanhuang people were in a surging mood. Seeing so many holy lords of the Ghost Flame clan disappear into ashes at this moment, their awe and belief in the ancient Emperor Yanhuang deepened. This is undoubtedly the method of gods. Mortals cannot reach this level at all. It is a master-like power. Everyone will have different feelings when watching the same scene. The Yanhuang people were very excited, but the ghost cultivators were miserable, crying bitterly, and fled in a hurry. Wu Yu felt a little uncomfortable. This life and death trial was so cruel. Ancient Emperor Yanhuang didn't even give Yazixi's parents a chance. All the holy lords treated them equally, just like ants in his eyes, and they were instantly wiped out. Nothing is left. At this moment, Wu Yu was only worried about Yazixi. Wu Yu didn't have much idea about his parents. His mother passed away very early and he didn't have much impression. However, his father was a human emperor with many children and concubines, so it was difficult to feel his feelings for him. But Yazixi is different. She is her parents' only one and grew up with their parents' love. In the past few decades, her parents have been the most important thing to her. But at this moment, she watched her parents turn into ashes in front of her eyes. Fall into that lava hell. Everything, silently. Wu Yu felt her body tremble violently. The nails of her hands pierced into his flesh and blood. The small palms were still trembling. Don't be afraid. Wu Yu didn't know how to comfort her. This was the greatest grief in the world, and he himself had never endured it. When Sun Wudao died, he went crazy. However, that can't compare to the pain of this girl seeing her parents die with her own eyes. He was also worried that Yazixi would be distressed to seek revenge on the ancient Emperor Yanhuang. Going at this time would be to risk death and expose his inheritance. Therefore, he told himself that he must protect her and stop her. However, the strange thing is that she did not go crazy like herself, but hugged herself tightly and buried her head in her chest. The lazy cat climbed on her shoulder and saw that scene. The eyes of this white cat were filled with tears. It is difficult for cats to have expressions, but Wu Yu saw its sadness. It stretched out its paws and scratched feebly in the air, as if trying to catch something, but nothing. Meow, the white cat closed its eyes and rubbed its night-stained temples with its head. She grabbed her hand very hard. Of course Wu Yu knew that her heart must be collapsing now. He couldn't imagine the pain she was suffering. Her parents loved her so deeply, and she also loved her parents so deeply. Call. She suddenly raised her head and looked into Wu Yu's eyes. Wu Yu found that she had changed. He couldn't explain the change. Maybe she had grown up from a girl in an instant. In her eyes, the previous purity disappeared and was replaced by determination, hatred, and coldness. This is not what Wu Yu wants to see, but he is not qualified to say anything, because Yazixi herself certainly does not want this, but she was forced. Her eyes were trembling, she died staring at Wu Yu. His voice was a little unsteady, and he said almost word by word, "One day, I will kill him." Is it possible? She wants to kill ancient Emperor Xuanhuan. She held back and did not die at this moment. Instead, she experienced an inner transformation. At this moment, she was like a drowning child. She would be drowned soon. She was struggling in this deep pool of sadness. She wants Wu Yu to give her a living answer. Wu Yu had never thought that he wanted to kill the ancient Emperor Xuanhuan. Firstly, he thought it was impossible. Secondly, he felt that the other party might not be his enemy, but might be a very good immortal. But now, he has to answer Yazixi's question, which is very important to her. Wu Yu thought for a moment and decided to avenge his parents. This was the most natural thing. No one could stop him. Even he would swear a poisonous oath here. Yazixi might also have that day, so he answered decisively. As long as you are willing, there is nothing in this world that you cannot do. Of course, this requires you to be patient, grow up, and hide in the dark to become a hidden killer. But, I still want you to be like before. Just as carefree. Forget it, this is not something you can control. You are the victim, Zixi. I am also incompetent today and failed to help you. I can only say that no matter what happens in the future, I will stand by on your side. I will not leave you until you fulfill your long-cherished wish. This is his promise to Yazixi. He knew that Yazixi could not survive on her own in this world. She knew nothing, and he was her only support in this world. Yazixi, of course I can't go back to the lava hell. Because the Xuanhuan ancient emperor easily rearranged a new magic circle here, temporarily sealing the gap in the lava hell. But in fact, after this incident, even if it is not sealed, the Giyan tribe will not dare to come out. They are still fleeing deeper. Of course, Yazixi will not go back. By following Wu Yu, she happened to be the only Giyan tribe left in the outside world. Brother Yu, thank you. She hid in Wu Yu's arms and put her ear against his chest. She was actually holding back her tears. It was very hard. Wu Yu knew that she was fragile. At this time, in front of her enemy, she definitely didn't want to cry, but her heart was already in turmoil. You promised me that you would never leave me. I don't want to be alone. Perhaps at this time, Wu Yu was her only life-saving straw. She hugged Wu Yu very hard, fearing that he would suddenly disappear. Don't worry, Wu Yu patted her head. This child was so pitiful. Although he was not older than her, age was not really important. Looking back, the Xuanhuan ancient emperor had completed what he wanted to do. At this time, amid the shouts and kneels of countless Xuanhuan tribesmen, he gradually disappeared into the sky, and finally went away. Yazixi stood beside Wu Yu. Under her arm, watching the Yanhuang ancient emperor leave, her eyes changed in various ways, and finally turned into obsession and the deepest indifference. Everything is over. The Yanhuang people are all very happy. Although this time they were a little disgraced, the casualties were not particularly heavy. They were able to stop the ancient demon god a little, which can be considered a credit. Now that Yazixi has come out, there is no need for Wu Yu to enter the lava hell from now on. At this time, Yazixi was immersed in hatred and pain, but Wu Yu had to find a way to give Yazixi an identity and integrate into his team. He promised to take care of her, so he would not regret it. He sent a messenger talisman to Emperor Yu, telling him that he was waiting for him and Nanshan Wanjiu in a city next to the lava hell, and asked them to come alone. Wu Yu saw them among the Yanhuang tribe. However, they have been watching the battle from a distance, and there is no need for them to take action when stationed in the magic circle. Taking Yazixi with him, Wu Yu left quietly. This large group of people would return after finishing their chores here. When they arrived at a deserted place, Yazixi looked back and saw the burning clouds on the horizon and the thick smoke still rising from the ground. That was the direction of the lava hell, which was her home. Now she came to the outside world in her dream, but this world did not give her the slightest surprise. She suddenly turned back, hugging the white cat, squatting on the ground, looking in the direction of the lava hell, feeling very helpless, tears streaming down her face. My father and mother didn't know whether I was still alive before they died. She choked up and said the sentence. Maybe this was the saddest point. Then she finally couldn't help it and cried bitterly like a flood bursting. At this time, she looked very thin, with a small body. Almost as tall as the weeds next to it. Looking at the smoke and dust rising into the sky, I remembered my childhood, the scenes from when I was sensible, my mother who brought me up and taught me many things, and my father who guided me to practice Taoism. From being harsh and criticizing to being proud of myself, countless images have passed before my eyes over the years, and each time they pass by, I feel like my heart is wrenching. People always feel so painful when they lose something. All the happiness and sweetness in the past were wiped out at this moment. Yazixi still remembers their expressions at the last moment before they died. His father, fighting against fate, was fearless and regarded death as home. Her mother was admittedly very scared, but she held tight. Holding the arm of my Taoist companion, maybe death is not so scary anymore. However, she was still worried about her daughter, so before she disappeared into ashes, she was still looking around, trying to find Yazixi, maybe then she could truly rest in peace, but unfortunately there seemed to be no chance. Zixi, sometimes fate is indeed unpredictable. Suffering always exists when people are alive. Now these are reality. If there are so many regrets, if you know what your parents want most, then do it. Show them that one day, when their souls in heaven see you, they will feel proud of you. That is the most worthy thing for you to do. However, people will always cry a few times. You cry, and then follow me. Wu Yu has never experienced this kind of pain, so he has always admitted that it is an incurable suffering. As a girl, of course she can cry as many times as she wants, but Wu Yu also wants her to understand that from now on, she wants to live the way her parents want her to be, that is the best version of herself, and her way will become stronger. Wu Yu stood next to her and looked at this girl, crying until the sky was dim and the earth was dark under the scorching sun in the grass. The white cat sat helplessly on the grass with a sad face. From time to time, he used the softest part of his palm to touching her face, trying to wipe away her tears. There will come a time when there will be a new life. For the fastest updated website for this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 895. Emperor Yu and Nanshan Wanjiu urged them several times with messenger talismans, but Wu Yu asked them to wait a little longer. It wasn't until dusk that Yezixi picked up Lalan Mao and stood up. She wiped away her tears and her face was slightly pale, but she still smiled at Wu Yu. This smile grew after the pain of death. So it was particularly profound. She said, "I've kept you waiting for a long time. I'm fine. I had a dream just now. In the dream, my father and mother told me that they were relieved. I will live a very good life in the future, is the greatest repayment to them, and, I said, I will do it." What she said was of course to kill ancient Emperor Yanhuang. This is the craziest goal in the world. It sounds even more difficult than becoming an immortal. Then don't cry anymore from now on. Okay, Wu Yu stared at her. Absolutely not, maybe I will cry when no one is around, but I won't let you see it. She was able to come out of it and knew what she was going to do. Wu Yu was also happy for her, and he was slightly relieved. After all, he was really worried that she would collapse, but she was obviously not such a weak person. Then let's start, follow me first. The place that Wu Yu and Emperor Yu agreed upon was called Kenja City. It was built on a cliff and was one of the cities closest to the lava hell. This city was not big and there was nothing special about it. Yanhuang who lived here, the clan is probably below the 7th or 8th level of the Yuan Shen realm, and there are many ascetics from the Jindan Dao and Zifa Kanghai realms. Even the youngest children are in the Qi condensation realm. Emperor Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao were waiting for Wu Yu at the gate of Kenja City. They didn't know what Wu Yu was selling, so they were a little anxious. After all, Wu Yu had agreed on a location, but he didn't arrive on time. When he saw Wu Yu and a girl in black holding a white cat coming down from the somersault cloud, seeing that Wu Yu was safe and sound, he immediately laughed and said, "What are you doing? It's mysterious, but this time you are really, it's a great achievement. If you didn't send the summons, the regent wouldn't know, and he wouldn't ask my father, so my father wouldn't be able to arrive in time. Of course, the fate of the Ghost Flame clan will still be like this. It's just that a few more people from our Yanhuang clan will die, but you have saved a lot of people." Wu Yu was afraid that Yezixi would sound uncomfortable when he said this, but he was overly worried because she had already seen through it, and the power of ancient Emperor Yanhuang had nothing to do with his communication talisman. Wu Yu's communication talisman, in fact, it only protected the lives of some Yanhuang people. Nanshan Wanjiao didn't say anything. He put away his fragrant folding fan and looked at Yezixi seriously, showing off his elegance and handsomeness, looking very stylish. "Who is this little beauty?" "Wu Yu, why don't you introduce me?" Nanshan Wanjiao coughed twice and asked seriously. Wu Yu knew that this guy would be smitten when he saw a beautiful woman. He had already thought about what to say. First of all, he needed the help of Emperor Yu, so he said, "This time I didn't respond to your summons in time. Because of her, to be honest, she is from the Unian tribe. I met her in the lava hell and became very close to her. Now I consider her my sister. But she is from the Unian tribe after all, and she is the only one who escaped this time. Clan, the Emperor, can you help me give her an identity?" After Emperor Yu heard this, he was still a little shocked. He didn't expect Wu Yu to be so willful and directly recognize the Yanhuang tribe's archenemy as his sister. Although there is no precedent for this, such a big movement just broke out, and this matter is still very sensitive. However, he is not an idiot. It is obvious that Wu Yu has confirmed this matter and will never let Yezixi leave due to external pressure. He pondered, looked at Yezixi a few more times, and said, "This girl is different from all the other Giyan tribe I have met. To be honest, no one believes that she is from the Giyan tribe. There are still some people who have obtained the cultivation techniques of ghost cultivators and practice the ways of ghosts and gods. She seems to be very pure in cultivation and does not have the evil aura of ghost cultivators. This is just right. Let her hide in our emperor's mansion for a while. When the turmoil of the Ghost Flame clan subsides, she can appear and declare to the outside world that she is a very talented ghost cultivator I met outside, and I will design and arrange a birth for her. Of Emperor, you considered things very comprehensively. Of course, this is all based on the fact that Wu Yu is the envoy of the Emperor, which is enough for him to spend time on Wu Yu. The more powerful Wu Yu is, the richer his trump card is. Emperor Yu at this time can always make Wu Yu forget the scene he saw in the mausoleum on the Taku Immortal Road, because he is already very normal and does not look like he does not belong to Emperor Yu at all. His arrangement should be perfect, and Yazixi only needs to stay in the Emperor's mansion for a few months to make people forget about the Giyan tribe. Not many people care about a mere talented ghost cultivator. After all, Emperor Yao still wants a demon to be the Emperor's envoy. Emperor Yu is just equivalent to recruiting a bodyguard and staff. Moreover, it was in his own name, so no one would doubt that this was the ghost flame tribe that Wu Yu brought back from the lava hell. Thank you, Emperor, for your magnanimity. I thought it would be difficult to protect a Giyan clan, so thank you, Emperor Wu Yu said sincerely. Of course, this was acting. Nanshan Wanjiao was behind him. He probably felt a little strange, so he didn't say much. Emperor Zi smiled and said, "Don't be polite to me, we are all brothers. Besides, it is also because this girl is different from other ghost flame tribes that I can do this. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. Don't you know the girl's name? Her name is Yazixi." "Sorry, my sister is not very talkative. She didn't want to speak," so Wu Yu answered on her behalf. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. In fact, she knew that this was the son of the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, and she would not burn her hatred towards the son of the Emperor. However, she at least did not want to have any communication with him, so Wu Yu answered instead. "Haha, no problem. Nothing happens. Let's go back to the capital of the gods first. This time, my uncle the regent will definitely reward you when we go back." Emperor Yu left. Then, a group of 4 of them returned to Chengdu. Because Yazixi could not show up, Emperor Zhu directly sailed the warship and returned to Emperor Yu's mansion. The defensive array in Chengdu was different from the lava hell, so Yazixi could unimpeded traffic here. Along the way, Emperor Kairu asked about Wu Yu's experience during this period. After knowing that Wu Yu actually killed the ghost array guest, he naturally congratulated Wu Yu and was also happy that he could get such a talented envoy from Emperor Kairu. Bar. As for what happened next, Wu Yu would definitely not tell him. "My body has become much stronger this time, and my realm has also improved, right?" Nanshan Wanjiao glanced at it for a few times, and he knew it in his heart. "You haven't stopped yet. Your realm has improved by 1 level. Can you deal with the 3 disasters?" Wu Yu asked in a low voice. "It's barely enough," Nanshan Wanjiao said proudly. In fact, he probably felt that he was already on the frontal battlefield and was no longer Wu Yu's opponent. The great sage Qishan is more tyrannical than the Grand Marshal Tianpeng. I'm afraid he admits it in his heart, but he is more stubborn on the surface. We also chatted a lot along the way. Yazixi sat in the corner and played with the lazy cat's hair obediently without interrupting. After arriving at the Emperor's mansion, he asked Wu Yu and the other 3 to rest in the Emperor's palace. He was also busy with his own affairs, either practicing, playing with other nobles, discussing Taoism, etc. The Emperor's palace is very large and can accommodate a few more people. After Emperor Yu left, Wu Yu said to Yazixi, "I told you before that I was born in the distant Dongsheng Shenzhou, which is a barren land. Because I went to the Beiming Empire and performed outstandingly, I was arranged by the ancient Emperor Yanhuang to come here with an imperial edict. As the Emperor's envoy to the son of Emperor Yu, my status is considered very high. In the eyes of outsiders, I am the only one who can rely on me in this ancient Yanhuang kingdom. This is the only one who has an identity. After all, he has no background, so we may have to live with him for a long time, which will embarrass you. Yazixi shook her head and said, Brother Yu, I know where you are in trouble. Besides, this is that person's arrangement and has nothing to do with you. She can understand the relationship between Wu Yu and Emperor Keiru, and she doesn't hate Emperor Keiru either. In this way, Wu Yu felt relieved. You too, after such a long time, is it my turn to show up? Nanshan Wanjiao squeezed forward and said with a smile. He was very curious as to why Wu Yu was so interested in a ghost cultivator and even called him brother and sister. Zixi, this is brother Nanshan's. Wu Yu pointed, and then said, he is quite shameless and nasty, but his heart is good. Just get used to it. Damn it, did you introduce me like this? Nanshan Wanjiao was so angry that smoke came out of his nostrils. Such a joke made Yazixi smile like she hadn't for a long time. She used to laugh a lot, but now it seems to be difficult. From now on, the three of us are brothers and sisters, fighting side by side, advancing and retreating together. Wu Yu suddenly became serious, stretched out a palm, knowingly put it on Wu Yu's palm, and the two of them looking at Nanshan and looking at the moon. Nanshan Wanjiao was actually a little confused. Why did you suddenly do this? Wu Yu stared at him and said, there is a being called the Rolling Curtain General, also known as the Golden Arhat. He has a weapon called the True Treasure Staff for subduing demons. Now, in her hand, the three of us have immortal heritage, and according to my guess, these three immortals must have a deep relationship. How is it possible? Nanshan Wanjiao looked at Yazixi in shock. He couldn't believe that there was a third person in this Yanfu world, and he was also a ghost cultivator. He was surprised enough when he saw Wu Yu before. General Rolling Curtain, it is said that he is the master of the heavenly court. The Jade Emperor descends in front of him and serves the Jade Emperor. He is no worse than you, the Grand Marshal of Heavenly Pen. Wu Yu teased. Nanshan Wanjiao knew that what Wu Yu said was absolutely correct. He was just shocked. Now, he looked at Yazixi in surprise, suddenly laughed, put his palms on their palms, and took the opportunity to squeeze Yazixi's little hand, and said with a smile, very good, very good. Meow. Lalan Mao was furious when he saw this, and scratched Nanshan Wanjiao's face. Nanshan Wanjiao escaped in an embarrassed manner. He, we are all our own people, don't be like this. He smiled. Wu Yu said, I'll teach you a lesson. She is my sister, and you have the responsibility to take care of her. Do you understand? Okay, I understand, haha, you are the strongest now, so you have the final say. Since you are my younger sister, let's wait and see brother Nanshan pamper you to death. He was indeed joking, and to be honest, Yazixi is not his cup of tea. He likes those with big breasts, round buttocks, plump and coquettish. With these two people, Wu Yu suddenly realized that he would not be alone in the future journey. 3 chapters today. Volume 7 Ancient Emperor Yanhuang. Finish. Volume 8 Eternal Phoenix. Opens tomorrow. Let's fight together on a new journey. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 896. The vast majority of the Yanhuang tribe have never seen the ghost Yan tribe in the lava hell with their own eyes. To them, this ancient kingdom of Yan and Huang was not considered to have experienced any earth-shattering changes. This storm will dissipate soon. However, people probably know that it was because Wu Yu sent out the communication talisman and conveyed the news in advance, so that the Yanhuang tribe had enough time to prepare, and the ancient emperor knew that there was such a change in the depths of the lava hell. Therefore, apart from the ancient emperor who blessed the world, Wu Yu deserves the most credit. Emperor Zhu was right. Not long after Wu Yu came back, he was summoned by the regent. It happened to be that the royal family held a lantern party, which was very lively. Wu Yu's sky-swallowing body was left in the emperor's mansion, and his body was with him. Emperor Yu participated in this party. In this imperial city, the capital of the gods, there was singing and dancing everywhere, a scene of peace. In the brilliant lights, in the Jingxuan hall of the imperial palace, many powerful men and venerables from the ancient Yanhuang kingdom, all invited, come here. Looking at it, it turned out that there were really many sons and daughters of the ancient Emperor Yanhuang. Wu Yu was standing behind Emperor Yu, with hundreds of people beside him. Some of them looked old, and some were older than Emperor Yu. They are still young, and they all have words on their foreheads, saying they are all descendants of the ancient Emperor Yan and Huang. By this time the event was over. In fact, the regent is not much different from the emperor in the world. He needs to deal with various government affairs from all over the country, and it may even delay his cultivation. This is not a good thing when there is the ancient Emperor Yanhuang at the top. Errands. Of course, at least enjoy the feeling of being an emperor when you are surrounded by top experts. Wu Yu. Wu Yu was thinking about other things when someone suddenly called him. Emperor Yu pushed him, and Wu Yu came to the middle. Directly in front of him, the regent and other senior officials of the Yanhuang royal family, and long sitting high up, there were more than 20 people on the chairs, either brothers and sisters of the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, or powerful figures in the ancient country. Strong and powerful. The person who called him just now was the regent. At this time, just after a round of performances, the regent called out to himself, and then everyone's eyes fell on him. Most people's eyes were a little confused, but some of them obviously knew why. Of course Wu Yu knew about being called out. Before coming, Emperor Yu had already greeted him, and the regent would reward him today. Prince Regent Wu Yu bowed and saluted. The regent smiled faintly at him, then faced everyone and said loudly, "In the battle in the lava hell, I don't need to say more." Everyone knows that it was precisely because Wu Yu saw the actions of the Ghost Flame clan in the depths of the lava hell. Inform us, and the ancient emperor only knew about this. If not for this, we would have realized later that the overwhelming formation of 10,000 demons and slaying the sky would have been broken instantly. The Yanhuang tribe in the 8 fortresses, and the nearby there are so many cities, I don't know how many casualties there will be. This is recognized and known to everyone. At first, most people didn't believe Wu Yu's summons talisman. Wu Yu happened to be in the depths of the lava hell and made great achievements invisibly, saving many people. At this time, the regent stared at Wu Yu, smiled faintly, and said, "Because Wu Yu has made great contributions and has a huge impact, countless people have benefited from it, so I have decided to remember Wu Yu as a first-class meritorious service." Wu Yu didn't know what this first-class merit meant, but the emperor smiled, while most of the others were dumbfounded. Apparently he felt that recording this incident as a first-class merit was too much. Sure enough, an older emperor's son stood up immediately. This emperor's son was already over middle age, not young, and had profound cultivation. He was probably at a very advanced level in the realm of the 3 disasters. This person's name is Emperor Yan, and he is one of the eldest brothers of Emperor Yu. Of course, these older emperors are the popular candidates for succession, because compared to Emperor Yu and others, they are, at least in terms of strength, experience, and power, they have huge advantages. Anyone who happens to see that giant will quickly release the communication talisman. Is this because you are lucky and can get first-class merit? Uncle Emperor, I am not targeting the Imperial Envoy. I just think that this way, you will do your best to stop the opponent. It's a little unfair for the Yanhuang warriors to risk their lives. Many legion commanders may not be able to get first-class merit after a lifetime of fighting. Emperor Yan said calmly. He is one of the few emperors who is qualified to speak. Others had to wait for him to say it before echoing it in a few words, showing that they were not targeting Wu Yu, but just thought it was a bit exaggerated. If you get first-class merit like this, I guess the emperor himself will be embarrassed. Finally, Emperor Chen, whose emperor had been defeated by Wu Yu, said. In fact, Wu Yu's performance during this period was too outstanding, and the tide was rising with Emperor Yu, and the leader was shot. They felt the crisis, so they naturally gathered together at this time to exclude Emperor Zi and Wu Yu. The decision he made was questioned by so many people in person. The regent smiled coldly and said, "It seems that the princes and princesses of the emperor do not take me, the regent, seriously. However, I still want to tell you that even if you fight openly and secretly and want to suppress the son of Emperor Le and the envoy of Emperor Le, I have the right to award Wu Yu the first-class merit, and this power was granted to me by your father. If you question me, you are questioning the ancient emperor. Maybe I have been so kind and gentle for a long time that you have forgotten how to respect me. Very good, no wonder it was not you who sent the communication talisman to me. With your virtue of only daring to fight among yourselves, do you dare to enter such a deep place as the lava hell? He. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. He is not a real emperor, so sometimes, a group of princes and princesses can challenge His Majesty by relying on their numbers, but the old ones are still the best. After the regent ridicules them, they can only shut up angrily. In fact, they themselves desire such merits, and they are jealous because they can't get them. From this debate, Wu Yu heard that this merit could probably get a lot of real rewards. This is a great thing. He was a little confused as to why the regent wanted to reward him and suppress other princes and princesses for this. Could it be just for fairness? The effect of Wu Yu's communication talisman was indeed a great merit. But as Emperor Yan said, he was just lucky. Such merit can be given or not. He chose to give it, which was biased towards Wu Yu and also towards fairness. Of course I accept it. Our Emperor Le has the qualifications, so he naturally has a clear conscience. Emperor Le laughed loudly beside him, which was a response to Emperor Chen's question before. In fact, the next part is the main topic. The first-class merit is only the qualification for reward. The regent asked, "Envoy Le, you can get a lot of rewards for the first-class merit. I wonder if Envoy Le has any special treasures you want?" The other party actually asked him. Wu Yu was a little confused. What he wanted was too much, but he hadn't thought about it at this time, and who knew what the other party could give him. If it was a big one, it would be a joke. If it was a small one, it would be a waste of this first-class merit. While Wu Yu was still thinking, the regent suddenly asked, "It is said that the reason why you are in the lava hell this time is because of a bet about the Wujitianzu set by the commander Chu Yin. Several flame dragons will compete with you to kill the ghost array guest. The winner can get the Wujitianzu. Among so many people, only you dare to go into the base of the ghost flame clan to deal with the ghost array guest. I wonder if you succeeded in the end." Wu Yu was going to find Chu Yin for this matter. I don't know why the regent asked in such an occasion. He said, "Very lucky, I succeeded in the end. I have part of the body of the ghost array guest and other things on his body. I was going to find the commander Chu Yin in a day or two." Wu Yu's words caused a lot of noise, because people knew how difficult it was to kill a ghost cultivator of the three disasters, asking the way who was hiding in the base of the ghost flame clan in the territory of the ghost flame clan. At this time, Wu Yu began to show his combat results. There is no doubt that the ghost array guest had died in his hands. Chu Yin stood up and said, "Regent, there is indeed a bet about the Wujitianzu." Several Yanlongs agreed to let Wu Yu participate in the challenge and compete together, so I allowed it. The regent said, "So, the Wujitianzu belongs to Wu Yu, right?" Chu Yin nodded. The others saw that Wu Yu got another treasure. Although they were not convinced, it was after all what he got through his strength and adventure. The regent smiled and asked, "Emperor Yu, I wonder if this Wuji Tianzu can be given to the royal family and belong to my royal family. This question was not only asked by Wu Yu, but also by others. Wasn't this a reward for Wu Yu? Why did he want Wu Yu's things instead? This was plundering. What kind of reward was it? Many people suddenly realized, could it be that the regent pretended to reward Wu Yu, but actually wanted to control Wu Yu? Wu Yu himself didn't understand this matter. He looked at Le Daizi, and Le Daizi was also confused. However, Wu Yu could judge for himself. From his current judgment, the regent would never set a trap for himself. He could see the regent's expression, which seemed to be smiling, as if he was brewing a big suspense. He didn't seem to want to punish himself. Wu Yu was very courageous. He said directly, beyond everyone's expectations, since the royal family needs it, Wu Yu is naturally willing to give this Wuji Tianzu to the royal family. When this was said, everyone was still amazed. After hearing this, the regent smiled slightly and nodded, saying, "The emperor's envoy Le is indeed a man who will accomplish great things. In fact, I don't want to embarrass the emperor's envoy Le, but I think that you may not need the Wuji Tianzu anymore, so it belongs to my royal family and cannot be wasted. After all, I want to reward you with something better. Maybe someone here can think of the name of this weapon. I was busy outside today. When I arrived, it was already late and the weather was freezing. I will write one chapter first and try to update more tomorrow. Produced by a madman, reputation guaranteed. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 897. If the Prince Regent had not said so, no one would have thought of it. Since he said this, most of the people present have a relatively clear idea of what is in the royal family's treasury. So, people naturally guessed it. Moreover, Dishishin's efficiency in doing things was indeed very fast and hateful. As soon as he said that sentence, he immediately took action. Obviously this was not a temporary idea, but he had made this decision early in the morning. With a wave of his hand, he opened the sumuru bag he carried with him, and in the blink of an eye, the same shining Taoist weapon appeared, floating in front of his eyes. Just as everyone expected, when this Taoist weapon appeared, people were very shocked. Apart from the shock, their faces were quite ugly, especially to the other emperor's sons and daughters. After all the emperor's sons and daughters were very different from each other. Is a competitor. The more capital you have, the more jealous you will be. Wu Yu didn't react a little, but when the weapon appeared, he was completely attracted by it. Of course, this is definitely the level of spiritual Dao weapon. However, there are differences even among spiritual tools. The key point is that the one in front of you is at least much better than the Wuji Tianzu. At this time, the entire Jingxuan palace was shining with 9 colors of light because of the existence of this spiritual weapon. This is exactly the same as the colors of the 9 magic arrays in the Fusion Tower, which are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and black. This spiritual weapon has 9 colors in total. In terms of color, it is indeed very gorgeous. Wu Yu was also shocked when he first saw it. The regent knew himself very well, and this spiritual weapon was actually a stick. However, this stick has 9 sections in total, each section has a color, black and white are in 2 sections, and there are 7 colors in the middle. From top to bottom, there are complex patterns on each of the 9 sections. It seems that the reliefs are 9 ferocious beasts, exactly the same, but with different colors. From top to bottom, 9 ancient and fierce animal faces were staring ferociously at Wu Yu. At the same time, on each section, there are flames burning on the lines of the animal's face, and there are 9 colors from top to bottom. As soon as this spiritual weapon came out, Wu Yu felt the terrifying heat. The 9 kinds of flames were burning fiercely, which was comparable to the fire spirit fairy liquid. Therefore, as soon as this spiritual weapon came out, the scorching temperature made many emperors, sons, and daughters, couldn't help but retreat. Just looking at the appearance, it is indeed much more domineering than the Wanlong stick. Those 9 colors, carrying divine fire, seem to be ferocious beasts from ancient times, and every one of them looks as terrifying as the immeasurable giant beast with 10,000 dragon sticks. Generally, the spiritual Taoist weapon needs to have more than 100,000 magic arrays. The Wanlong stick has 200,000 magic formations, the Wujitianzu has nearly 300,000 magic formations, and the Beiming Emperor's Palace has close to 500,000, with 199,000 magical arrays. Over 500,000, that's the Holy Spirit Dao artifact. I wonder how many magical arrays there are in this spiritual Dao artifact. Wu Yu took one look and knew that this spiritual weapon was more powerful than the Wujitianzu he longed for. Otherwise, the regent would not take back the Wujitianzu and give it to this spiritual weapon as a reward. In addition, the knife he took from the ghost array guest last time was called Soul Removal. It looked very small, but it was actually a top-notch spiritual weapon, with a magic circle of 360,000. Higher than the Wujitianzu. Of course, in fact, the number of magic arrays does not necessarily represent the power of spiritual tools. After all, what kind of magic circle it is and how lethal it is are also relevant. There may even be 100,000 spiritual magic weapons. It is more terrifying than the 200,000 or 300,000 magic circles. After all, it has something to do with the type of magic circle. Generally speaking, the more magic formations there are, the more complex and powerful they are. Wu Yu has not encountered anyone who has fewer magic formations but is more powerful. Just when he was thinking about how many magic circles this spiritual weapon had to bring him such a strong desire, the spiritual weapon suddenly seemed to be broken and scattered into 9 parts. Each part had a color and a complex. The beast's face was suspended in the air like 9 segmented arms, with 1 in the center and 8 around it. Then each segment underwent a huge change, from a short stick to a 3-legged cauldron in an instant. Suddenly, 9 giant tripods with blazing flames inside appeared in front of Wu Yu's eyes. The giant cauldrons were heavy, majestic, and domineering. The flames burning on them were extremely hot. Inside each giant cauldron, there was another. It was like a lava hell, with a sea of fire rolling inside and heavy heat waves. Deep in the sea of fire, there was a faint roar of giant beasts, coming from the mouth of the tripod. That ferocious voice caused many people's expressions to change drastically. For a time, the entire atmosphere of Jingxuan Hall was suppressed and controlled by this spiritual weapon. People looked at the 9 giant cauldrons with different expressions. Some were amazed, some were unhappy, and even angry. Wu Yu noticed that the previously 3-dimensional animal faces on the 9 giant cauldrons became more flat, and were embossed on the cauldrons. They opened their huge mouths, revealing a mouthful of fangs, which was extremely fierce. It vaguely resembles an ancient ferocious beast in folklore. It turns out that this Taoist weapon is similar to Beiming Emperor K. It has 2 forms. Beiming Emperor K can be transformed from a sword into a dragon-shaped iron whip, and this Taoist weapon can be divided into 9 sections from a stick and turned into 9 giant statues. Tripod. It's like having 2 Taoist tools. After turning into a giant cauldron, this weapon showed strong suppression and sealing capabilities, and then was assembled together again, turning into a giant pillar burning with 9 layers of flames. It landed on the ground of Jingxuan Palace with a bang. Wu Yu was basically convinced that this spiritual weapon was approaching Beiming Emperor's palace. You can imagine how precious it is. Sure enough, after showing it, the regent smiled and said, "Its name is 9 Tribulations Furnace Burning Heaven Pillar. It has something to do with you. The lava hell in the past was 1/10 larger than it is now. That 1/10 was a strange place called 9-layered Sea of Fire. But before the 3 yuans, an ancestor emperor of our Xuanhuan clan who had survived the great tribulation of the immortal way and was about to ascend to immortality, collected it and assisted it with 9 kinds of steel treasure materials with 10 spiritual patterns. It was forged and painted. Among them, there are 50,000 magic arrays on each furnace giant tripod. There are 9 furnace giant tripods, a total of 450,000 magic arrays, which are close to the Holy Spirit Dao weapon, but the power is no less than that of the Northern Ming Emperor K. Although the magic array is only a few 100,000 more than the Wuji Tianzu, the actual value, you know without me saying how much difference there is. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. The more powerful the upper spiritual weapon is, the more it will have a history that makes people marvel and yearn for it. This is the case with the Beiming Emperor K, and the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar is naturally the same. After listening to the description of the regent, Wu Yu looked at the giant flame pillar carved with 9 beast faces, and he could see a heavy sense of history from it. After all, this is a upper spiritual Dao weapon nearly 400,000 years ago. Over the years, countless people have obviously died in battle on this upper spiritual Dao weapon. Moreover, it was forged with 1/10 of the lava hell. No wonder there is the word furnace in the name. The 9 giant tripods are called the furnace giant tripods, and the flames burning on them are also related to the lava hell. Transformed into a giant tripod, it can suppress, burn, defend, and block. Now this stick, the appearance of the giant pillar, is very consistent with Wu Yu's own violent attack and rough close combat. Obviously, this is a weapon that is extremely suitable for Wu Yu, and it is more suitable for Wu Yu than the Wuji Tianzu, which has no obvious attributes. Such a good upper spiritual weapon, there must be many people who dream of it, and you just give it to me. Wu Yu didn't expect to get such a reward, so he couldn't come back to his senses for a while. Chuyin reacted faster than him. He smiled and quickly took out another weapon. It was a same type of upper spiritual weapon. One part was black and the other part was white. It was very strange and mysterious, but also balanced and moderate. There were nearly 300,000 magic arrays. Obviously, its power was not bad. It was considered to be above average among the upper spiritual weapons. However, when this Wuji Tianzu and the Jija furnace burning heaven pillar were put together, the huge gap in power between the two could be clearly seen. More importantly, the doctrine of the mean of the Wuji Tianzu was not very suitable for Wu Yu. The roughness, passion, and domineering of the Jija furnace burning heaven pillar, the aura of destroying everything, was what Wu Yu longed for. Regent, this is Wu Yu's Wuji Tianzu, please accept it. Chuyin had a certain connection with Le Daizi. Seeing Wu Yu's rapid rise, and Wu Yu himself was brought back by him from the Beiming Empire, seeing Wu Yu being valued, he certainly knew what to do, and his speed was extremely fast. After him, Le Daizi hurriedly reminded Wu Yu, saying, "Wu Yu, why don't you thank the regent quickly?" He woke Wu Yu up. No matter what the situation was, he had to get such a treasure first. There were so many people around, all of them were staring at the piece of meat in Wu Yu's hand like hungry wolves. He was already a step behind at this time. Many people were very dissatisfied, but no one took the lead in exploding. Just now, the Prince of Yan was defeated, and now the Prince and Princess were very anxious, but they did not dare to speak first. However, there was always someone to take the lead. That person was sitting next to the regent. He was an old man with gray hair, but he was extremely strong and had a very domineering face. At first glance, he was a tough guy who had practiced Taoism in battles and fights. He patted the chair at this moment, stood up, and said to the regent, "Brother, first-class merit is already good enough. After all, in the final analysis, it is really just luck. If you put this, if I give him the treasure, what will other people think, what will the emperor's sons and daughters think? This is what they desire, how can I just give it to an imperial envoy?" I know you value the imperial envoy Le very much, but in this case, I may have to ask the ancient emperor whether it is appropriate for you to be the regent. Wu Yu knew this person, his name was Diyuan Tian, he was the elder brother of Dishishan, one of the younger brothers of Yanhuang ancient emperor, and one of the previous regents. Because of his rough behavior and hot temper, he was persuaded by the ancient emperor to withdraw, but now he still holds the power. After all, his strength is not much different from that of Dishishan. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 898. With a character like Diyuan Tian at the beginning, it will be easier for the others. The Jiao Tingui Zhangdongyang said, I think it is true that the emperor's contribution to the emperor's mission is huge, but it is really not appropriate to reward such a heavy treasure. It will inevitably chill other young people and hope that the regent will take back his life. Chief Sikong of the Jifu said, I also hope that the regent can reconsider. After all, if this matter spreads, it will indeed have a major impact. Next, more and more people spoke, and at least dozens of people agreed. The emperor's sons and daughters all smiled. They did not contradict each other this time. After all, there were people who spoke for them. Now facing Wu Yu, they were originally fighting each other openly and secretly, but now they are clinging to each other and uniting. I'm afraid that since the regent took office, he has not been resisted by the ministers. This is a very embarrassing situation for any regent. Sure enough, the regent smiled awkwardly and said, everyone, please note that I asked Wu Yu to use the Wuji Tianzu in exchange for the 9 tribulations furnace burning Tianzu, which is equivalent to a reward of hundreds of thousands of magic arrays. Is it really unfair for our young people to do what you said? After all, if it weren't for Wu Yu, it's not certain whether all of you would still be alive. His awkward smile only fueled the arrogance of others. A discerning eye could see that the regent's arrogance had weakened. It was time to join forces to suppress it. The former regent Diyuan Tian probably really disliked this younger brother. So he didn't give much face and sneered, you are so confused in doing things. It seems that I really want to give advice to the ancient emperor and find someone who can really do things. He relied on his old man to sell his old man, and he had the support of the ministers in this matter. He probably finally found an opportunity to suppress Dishishan. Diyuan Tian showed no mercy at all. At this time, the atmosphere in Jingxuan Palace had reached freezing point. The spiritual weapon was right in front of Wu Yu, but Wu Yu did not dare to take it at this time. If he did it privately, he would probably be suppressed by the joint efforts of these powerful people from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Any one of these old guys can make Wu Yu miserable. After all, they have basically survived one disaster, and some have even survived 2 disasters, reaching the 7th level or above. Although he may not be able to live long enough to become an immortal due to his old age, in terms of strength, he is still the strongest person in the world. Everyone looked at the regent, waiting for him to take back his life in embarrassment under the pressure of Emperor Yuan Tian. After all, he was standing on the opposite side of everyone alone. He himself was not the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, but a substitute. Ancient Emperor Yanhuang handled chores. The regent had an awkward smile on his face. When everyone was staring at him, he never expected that he suddenly put away the awkward smile, relaxed for a moment, and then became extremely indifferent, saying to Diyuan Tian, then I look forward to your suggestion to Emperor Gu. By then, Emperor Gu will probably make you unable to eat and walk around. After all these years, you still haven't made any progress at all. You are all so impulsive and confused. Couldn't you guess? Is this what the ancient emperor meant? The most crucial thing lies in Dishishan's last words. The meaning of the ancient emperor. Everyone who was still smiling now turned stiff and pale, and their eyes were dull. Including Diyuan Tian, Gao Wu Tingui, Jifuda Sikong, Yan Daizi, etc., this is the case at this moment. Wu Yu, who came from the ancient emperor's imperial decree, had insight into the Guiyan clan's plan and made great achievements. Maybe everyone has forgotten that he appeared in this place because of the ancient emperor. Everyone also forgot that Dishushan was never a confused person. He is only much older than some of the emperor's sons, but he was able to survive 3 disasters. The reason he is in his current position is not just luck, nor just strength, but also brains, to put it nicely, wisdom. At this moment, Dishushan was sitting upright. He coughed twice, cleared his throat, and made everyone look at him blankly. He spoke loudly and majestically, "I have been appointed as the regent by the order of the ancient emperor. Since I took office, I have been serving as the regent. If there is any slight deviation in the ancient emperor's will to serve me, the ancient emperor will punish me. It is not the turn of all of you to make irresponsible remarks and go beyond the authority. I remember that today, if you commit the first offense, I will not be punished. If there are still people in the future, those who are ignorant, gather people to provoke, and talk nonsense will be severely punished to correct the situation." This sentence was like thunder roaring in his ears. Wu Yu looked around and saw that the person who had just spoken was basically blushing. Emperor Yuan Tian also had no idea that this was what the ancient emperor meant. He also stood dumbfounded at the time. Of course, he understood deeply that this time he was totally wrong. He underestimated Dishushan and blamed himself for not being able to understand the ancient emperor at all. Back then, he was completely unable to understand the ancient emperor's thoughts and was deceived. Dismissed directly. Perhaps he didn't understand until this moment that to be the regent, you not only need to be super powerful, but also to follow the footsteps of the ancient emperor. At this point, the Emperor Shushan was good to Wu Yu from the very beginning, during the canonization ceremony. Obviously he is more suitable than himself. Long live the eternal emperor, long live, long live. Hearing that it was the will of the ancient emperor, the princes and ministers certainly knew that the only thing they could do at this time was to kneel on the ground and shout. Even Emperor Yuan Tian had to do this at this time. He was admitting defeat and was also afraid. The regent may have known that many people were dissatisfied with him, so he used some tricks to lure the enemy deeper, and then gave him a heavy blow. I believe that from today on, no one will point fingers at his decision, because he is the only one can connect to the ancient emperor Yan and Huang. No one else, not even the emperor's son, had access to his father's rights. Seeing these people kneeling on the ground in a timid manner, in sharp contrast to their previous arrogance, Wu Yu once again deeply understood what the Yanhuang ancient emperor meant to the Yanhuang ancient emperor and the entire Yanfu world. Even Emperor Yuanatian's face turned pale at this time. He found that he still underestimated the Yanhuang ancient emperor. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. The treasure was right in front of him, and he was a little scared at this moment. What does he want? Why did he let himself come to the Yanhuang ancient emperor to be the envoy of the Emperor of Joy? Why did he reward himself so much, as if he valued himself very much? Wu Yu felt as if there was a pair of invisible eyes that saw him very clearly. This was absolutely creepy. The 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar was right in front of him, and those ferocious beast faces stared at Wu Yu, as if saying, "The treasure is delivered to you, do you dare to take it?" Wu Yu felt that besides the terrifying strength of the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, there was another terrifying thing. He was really like a god in the world of Yanfu. A god who ruled this world. Even, he did not let the entire world of Yanfu become the ancient country of Yanhuang, maybe because he was not interested. If he wanted, he should be able to do it. At this time, everyone looked at Wu Yu with a little envy. Maybe at this moment, they all lost their hatred for Wu Yu. It was not that they were not jealous, but they did not dare. As for the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar, of course they did not dare to think too much. That was the reward given to Wu Yu by the ancient emperor. It was already very good that the regent could get back an infinite heaven pillar. Emperor Yu, congratulations. For many years, no one has been able to get a reward from the ancient emperor himself. On the high seat in front, the regent looked at Wu Yu with a smile, meaning that Wu Yu should thank the Lord for his grace and accept the treasure. Wu Yu was also asking himself. The ancient emperor Yanhuang was so terrifying. Would he dare to accept his reward? Is it or? This is up to him. After asking himself, his Tao is still clear and understands that keeping fear is to take danger seriously, which is not a bad thing. He admitted that he was impressed by the great magical power of the Yanhuang ancient emperor, and he was afraid, just like when he was immortal, he was afraid of the Haoshan immortal. However, he was not sure whether the Yanhuang ancient emperor was the same as the Haoshan immortal. The Yanhuang ancient emperor came and went without a trace, which was even more difficult to understand. He seemed to be omnipotent. But what he was good at was to move forward tenaciously in fear and terror, and to fight and break the situation with strong willpower, unyielding, immortal and indestructible. So, when this treasure brought strong mental pressure, Wu Yu did not collapse, but gritted his teeth, took a few steps forward, and directly grasped the hot burning heaven pillar in the eyes of everyone. It is indeed a little hotter than the fire spirit immortal liquid, and ordinary people can't hold it at all. But Wu Yu, after a large amount of fire spirit immortal liquid converged and merged his body, was not afraid of this at all. At this moment, he had not yet recognized his master. The giant beast screamed and roared wildly. The 9 colors of ferocious flames instantly spread all over Wu Yu's body and burned him. His body was burning with raging flames. Indistinctly, people saw 9 ferocious beasts with sharp teeth and claws, biting Wu Yu's body wildly in the flames, and people felt pain for him. However, bathing in the flames, Wu Yu had no expression. He tightly controlled the upper spiritual weapon, slowly knelt on one knee, and said in a deep voice, word by word, Wu Yu, thank the ancient emperor for his grace. Although he was facing the direction of the regent, he was thanking the Yanhuang ancient emperor. Others dare not say so. After all, they have never received rewards from the ancient emperor, especially many emperors and princesses. To them, the ancient emperor is illusory, and some have never even seen him. It is not their fault. Many of their mothers do not know what the ancient emperor really looks like. They only have some ecstatic memories and then give birth to children for the ancient emperor. At this moment, Wu Yu was burned by the flames and bitten by the beasts, but he was not moved at all. He was still able to speak steadily. This absolutely shocked the princes and ministers, and made the emperors and princesses feel a sense of fear in their hearts. They may find that this emperor is really a bit strange and a bit against the sky. I can't write much today, 2 updates. However, I think the plot is wonderful. I hope everyone is satisfied. Regarding Wu Yu's weapons, the madman has been carefully setting them up, from the 9-sided demon-suppressing pillar at the beginning to the 10,000 dragon sticks, the burning sky pillar, and the beaming emperor's palace later. In the future, there will be more powerful ones, so stay tuned. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 899. In the end, Wu Yu successfully pocketed the 9 tribulations furnace-burning heaven pillar. From the Wujitianzu, which is nearly 300,000 magic circles, to the 450,000 magic circles, the 9 tribulation furnace-burning sky pillars forged from 1/10 of the lava hell. For Wu Yu today, it is a huge thing in front of him. Surprise is also an invisible worry in the future. But at least, he made a choice, withstood the tremendous pressure in his heart, and chose to face such a challenge. When such a treasure was presented to him, it was impossible for him to retreat, let alone refuse. After all, it can be seen from the extremely jealous eyes of the emperor's sons and daughters around them that they also long for this spiritual weapon. They may even have coveted it for a long time, and even made some great performances and made great contributions. For this burning sky pillar, Wu Yu found it a bit funny. In the Beiming Empire, I robbed the Beiming Emperor's palace that the princes and princesses had longed for. In the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, I robbed the 9 tribulation furnace burning heaven pillar that the emperor's sons and daughters longed for. However, both of them are useless. It is a spiritual weapon that is extremely close to the Holy Spirit Dao artifact, and the number of Holy Spirit Dao artifact is quite small, so I don't know whether these emperor's sons and daughters, those older ones, have them. Holy Spirit Taoist tools are rare. This top-notch spiritual weapon has basically become the target of competition among most of the emperor's sons and daughters. Even if there is no competition, they don't want the royal family's treasure to fall into the hands of an outsider. So Wu Yu knew that even if they were extremely pious and obeyed the ancient emperor's will, they would still be unwilling and unhappy. This kind of dissatisfaction is hidden here. In the hearts of most people, whether they are princes, ministers, or the emperor's sons and daughters, after all, in future disputes over the throne, all ministers need to take a stand and plan for their own children and grandchildren. Obviously there are not many people on the side of the emperor at this time. Some of them already have relatively obvious positions, so it is difficult to make adjustments, because no matter how they look at it, the young emperor Keiru is far from qualified to compete with other older emperors. Some older emperors, who has been practicing Taoism for more than 200 years, has survived 2 disasters, and Emperor Yu's son is still in the realm of Yuan Shen, far from the 3 disasters. Who knows if he will die in the first disaster again? In addition to the rumored resurrection from the dead in the Teiku Immortal Road, and the strange fact that there is an envoy of Emperor Ji arranged by the ancient Emperor Yanhuang himself, even if Emperor Ji's son is very talented in his generation, it actually doesn't matter. After all, he has too many domineering brothers and sisters. This situation is a bit different from that of the Beiming Empire. So Wu Yu's outstanding performance now makes people a little embarrassed. From various signs, it seems that the ancient emperor is a little inclined to the emperor's wishes. You know, in the end, it must be the ancient emperor's intention. Wu Yu had heard that the ancient emperor Yanhuang might not leave the world of Yanfu. He was like a god sitting here. However, he once said that he would stop the appointment of regents and let the new emperor Yanhuang handle it. Government affairs. The competition among the emperor's sons and daughters has intensified invisibly. After rewarding Wu Yu with the precious treasure, the grand meeting ended. The sons, daughters, and princes of the great emperors returned to their palaces, the princes and ministers returned to their mansions, and the city lords of the surrounding satellite cities returned to their cities. On the way, Emperor Yu said with a deep smile to Wu Yu, "To be honest, I didn't expect what happened today. You can also see that, although you have benefited, I also feel that my father pays some attention to me. But, often like this, and in public, this will make me lose all my brothers and sisters, and they are obviously very hostile to me, especially the older ones, who have the best chance." Of course Wu Yu understood this. He said, "The good thing is that after thinking about it, there will be more and more princes, ministers, and powerful people from all sides who are secretly on your side. Although it is very publicity, this may be your only chance." Emperor Yu looked at Wu Yu in shock and said, "Wu Yu, do you mean that it is possible for me to compete for the throne? What I have now is incomparable to those of my brothers and sisters. The gap is too big, yes, because I took care of Chu Haoshang and Chu Fenjiao, Chu Yin, and I have a better relationship, and there is no one else. After all, he is still young and seems to have missed this wave." Wu Yu pondered for a moment. He didn't know how to deal with the reward from the ancient Emperor Yanhuang. But the city of God is indeed a whirlpool, and now, he and Emperor Yu are forced to be on the same rope, with a sense of sharing will and woe, and it can even be said that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang is arranging it. In this case, why not go crazy and see what the ancient Emperor means? We must take action to find out the truth. He faced the Emperor. In the darkness, his eyes did flicker a little. As if he was not brave enough, Wu Yu said in his ear, "Whoever becomes the Emperor will only be decided by him. Whoever has the power and strength will be the one, it doesn't matter. I think with a person like him, choosing a successor will definitely not follow common sense. So why don't you have a chance? It's still very early. Emperor, I think that since we are standing on this wave now, at the top of the turmoil, why don't you take the opportunity to make a big fuss? If you can't become an immortal as a cultivator, isn't your goal to dominate the world and kill millions of people in a rage?" Wu Yu, Emperor Yu's breathing was a little rapid. Maybe before today, he didn't dare to discuss this issue. Maybe it was Wu Yu's appearance that changed and shocked him a lot. Although he was still confused now, he still looked at Wu Yu with twinkling eyes and said, "Do you think I can really do it?" This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu smiled slightly and said, "This has nothing to do with me. I only believe that there must be some arrangement for me to come here from Beiming and then get this treasure. As for the person who made the arrangements, the Emperor must know." Wu Yu was not afraid of trouble at all in this divine capital. Since this treasure brought him to the center of the whirlpool, he also made a choice, that is, to take the Emperor's son with him to try to find opportunities. Anyway, Emperor Keiru needs to express his stance. "Then, what should I do?" Emperor Zi asked. "You don't have to do anything, just practice." Maybe, he doesn't want you to do anything. There is nothing wrong with making yourself stronger. In fact, you don't need to do anything, but you need to change and you need to have a true heart. If you want to fight for the Emperor, improve your vision and ambition. He is qualified to be equal to them." After listening to this, Emperor Yu must have been shocked in his heart. Maybe he felt that Wu Yu had awakened him. Maybe for him, he felt that today would be a very important conversation for him, which would give him real ambitions and goals. Suddenly, he thought of the future scene, and fire surged in his heart. "Thank you very much. You're right. Since it may take a long time, let's wait and see. I may have to rely on you for most of it." Emperor Keiru understood very well that the reason why he was also at the center of the storm, and it was entirely because of Wu Yu. Wu Yu smiled and said, "Your Majesty, there is no need to be polite to me. It is fate that we can meet each other on the ancient immortal road. I am now in such a position, under the ancient Emperor's decree, and sometimes I don't know what I should do here. But now that I have a goal, I also have the desire to strive forward. In this case, why not fight together?" Emperor Yu also smiled. He patted Wu Yu on the shoulder and said, "It is my good fortune to have you as the Emperor's envoy in this life. From now on, this vast divine city will be the battlefield for our two brothers. I really have a chance in the future. Then one day, you will definitely be inferior to one person and superior to hundreds of millions of people. If you want to become an immortal, at least I will try my best to help you with resources. I, the ancient Emperor of Yanhuang, still have many who can resist the great catastrophe of immortality. Of course, it's a mythical creature in legends, and I, Mao, have never seen it, haha." The relationship between Wu Yu and him was not that good. He was always wary of Emperor Yu. Now, they were taking advantage of each other. At least Wu Yu wanted to know an answer. Answers about the ancient emperors of Yan and Huang. Soon after, returned to the Emperor's mansion. Emperor Yu understands what Wu Yu means. Today's changes are mainly inner changes. As for what they can do, in fact they can't do anything, because no matter what they do deliberately, they can't know the ancient emperor's true thoughts. Doing too much can easily backfire. For example, there is no need to win over the officials and the like. Wu Yu guessed that the emperor of Yanhuang must be on the stage, so he must be special. At least those he saw, there were many strong ones, but there was no one who could be said to be unparalleled and stunningly talented. They all seemed to be similar in part. In fact, the emperor's children are not very special. They are all top geniuses, but they are not Wu Yu's type. It's not like looking at the moon on Nanshan Mountain or looking at the night sky. The only special thing about Emperor Yu's son was that Wu Yu had seen his body in that ancient tomb. Maybe, does this have anything to do with the ancient Emperor Yan and Huang? Wu Yu didn't know that, at least so far, Emperor Yu had not shown it. When he returned to the emperor's palace, Nanshan Wanjiao went out as usual, looking for flowers and willows, while practicing Taoism. He walked in the world of human beings, indulged in sex, wine, and meat, but he was able to develop a unique Tao. Wu Yu admired him quite a bit, even though he looked at him playing, actually not bad at all. As for Yezixi, she went into seclusion alone when she first came here and has not come out yet. When Wu Yu went out to participate in this grand event, his sky-devouring body was here in the emperor's palace. Because he grew up by devouring, he didn't need much training. The most exciting and crucial thing about Wu Yu's return this time was, of course, the sacrifice of the 9 tribulations furnace-burning heaven pillar, which was comparable to the Beiming Emperor's palace. However, he can still bear it. Before that, he has to complete another thing, which is to sacrifice the soul-removing Taoist knife of the Ghost Array Guest's 350,000 magic circle first. The playing methods that can enrich the sky-swallowing body are specially equipped by Wu Yu for the sky-swallowing body. The reason why I didn't do the sacrifice before was because I wanted to show the evidence that I had killed the Ghost Array Guest, but now it was completed. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 900. Soul removal was originally a Taoist weapon belonging to the Ghost Array Guest, a ghost cultivation weapon, but this soul removal is different from other ghost cultivation weapons. It is powerful because the array itself is powerful and the material is also powerful. It seems to be some kind of meteorite iron from outer space, which is not a material from the world of Yama. And the general ghost cultivation weapons rely on cruel forging methods, swallowing imprisoned dead souls to increase attack power and lethality, which Wu Yu despises. Soul removal can be used. Compared with the 9 tribulations furnace-burning heaven pillar, soul removal is much easier to sacrifice and refine. And the key is that the body of the devouring heaven can be transformed into the state of primordial spirit, which is easier to invade the array world inside the upper spirit Taoist weapon. For the 9 tribulations furnace-burning heaven pillar, soul removal can only be regarded as an appetizer. Its weapon spirit is a pitch-black eagle, which is extremely fast and swift. Under the dual impact of Wu Yu's original soul and the body of the devouring heaven, the soul removing quickly surrendered and became the Taoist weapon of the body of the devouring heaven. There are 350,000 arrays of soul removing, and it should take some time to get familiar with it. There are also several kinds of attack arrays, each of which involves more than 100,000 arrays. Each small array operates independently, and with other small arrays, it forms a large array as a whole. The large array and other large arrays form a super array. Generally, the attack array is considered a super array, which has more than 100,000 small arrays in it. When it is running, there are other large arrays and super arrays to serve it. It is easy to sacrifice, but it is not easy to get familiar with it. It will take more than a month to master the attack array. After finishing the soul removing, Wu Yu did not rest, because the next is the highlight, that is, to sacrifice the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar. In the secret room, he took out the 9 tribulations furnace burning heaven pillar from the sumuru bag. The burning heaven pillar was now 3 feet tall and thicker than his waist. It stood in the secret room. For a moment, the temperature of the closed secret room suddenly increased rapidly. Not long after, the entire secret room was like a sea of fire. The brick walls of the dignified Le Emperor's mansion were painted with a large number of magic arrays, and each brick had thousands of them. At this time, they were being burned and twisted and red. The ground where the burning heaven pillar stood was even more cracked and sunken. In fact, if he didn't take it out, Wu Yu's samurai bag couldn't bear it. The samurai bag he was using was still a Taoist tool. The Na character array diagram was composed of 80,000 magic arrays. It was not a high-level Taoist tool, but the space inside was already very huge, almost the same as Le Emperor's mansion, and it couldn't be filled at all. The burning heaven pillar was composed of 9 iron pillars, each with a ferocious beast face. At this time, it was still staring at Wu Yu, with fierce light flashing, and 9 colors of flames burning, as if they were spit out from the mouths of these ferocious beasts. Ordinary people would never dare to approach the burning heaven pillar when they were offering sacrifices to it. Before the sacrifice was successful, they could only invade from a distance, conquer the spirit of the weapon inside the magic circle, and would never dare to do what Wu Yu did, walk up directly, stand less than a foot away from the burning heaven pillar, and then stretch out his arms to hug the burning heaven pillar. Sizzle. When his flesh and blood were attached to the burning heaven pillar, a sizzling sound was made, and thick white smoke came out. It can be seen that Wu Yu's skin that was in contact was burned red, even charred, but his body had an extremely strong recovery ability. Even with this degree of burning, he could still be fine. It seemed that this upper spiritual weapon was as if it was born for him. In fact, Wu Yu approached this way for the purpose of showing off his power to the upper spirit Deikai. This terrifying heat is actually the most proud capital of the upper spirit Deikai. Its previous owners could not challenge it in this respect like Wu Yu did, so its burning heat was always prepared for the enemy. Wu Yu was probably the first one who did not control it from a distance by magic power, but directly fought with his flesh and blood. His arms were like iron clamps, tightly entangled with the upper spirit Deikai. Being challenged in this respect, the upper spirit Deikai was a little shocked, but it also aroused its fierceness. The moment Wu Yu held on, its flames exploded wildly, and the 9 beast faces really seemed to come alive at this time, roaring, spitting out surging flames, and the 9 flames instantly engulfed Wu Yu. Just like in the Jingxuan Palace, in the firelight, the 9 ferocious beasts were biting Wu Yu's head, arms, thighs, waist, chest, and neck. Wu Yu's flesh and blood was instantly burned black under the brutal resistance of this Taoist weapon, but even so, Wu Yu still smiled and said, "If it is only this degree, it is too weak." He has experienced the challenge of the fire spirit immortal liquid. The heat on his body is more terrifying than this upper spiritual Taoist weapon. When the heat of the fire spirit immortal liquid burst out, when his 6 realms heavenly King Buddha indestructible body was revealed, the body that was like the 6 worlds was vast and vast. The flames of the giant beast rushed into the first world and lost their direction. It could not break through Wu Yu's first world at all, let alone the 6th world. In the first world, between heaven and earth, a huge Buddha statue stood between heaven and earth in a peculiar posture, constantly making a om sound. This sound was like a bell, extremely heavy. Every vibration caused a strong vibration of the flesh, and under this vibration, Wu Yu's flesh and blood were constantly regenerating. Although the flames of the upper spiritual Taoist weapon came from the 9-layer sea of fire, they were still repelled. Wu Yu held the supreme spiritual Taoist weapon in both hands, but this supreme spiritual Taoist weapon was actually powerless. Not to mention the battle in the world of the magic circle, in the outer struggle, Wu Yu controlled the violent upper spiritual Taoist artifact burning heaven pillar with his flesh, making it like a wild horse, but unable to struggle. This is indeed a huge show of strength. Maybe Wu Yu's soul itself is not the biggest advantage in the subsequent confrontation in the magic circle world, but with this advantage now, the possibility of successful sacrifice is infinite. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Generally speaking, the most important thing for sacrificing Taoist artifacts is the contest of the will of the soul inside the magic circle. When facing a special type of extremely terrifying Taoist artifact, a cultivator will never resist its edge with flesh and blood, and at most use the purple palace energy. The burning heaven pillar was most confident in this aspect, but Wu Yu, with pure flesh and blood and a tough guy's attitude, just held down the opponent, just like a tiger was pinned to the ground by him, punched one by one, unable to move at all, instead of using long-range weapons such as bows and arrows to deal with the tiger from a high place. For the tiger itself, it was actually not convinced by being suppressed by weapons such as bows and arrows. What it was most convinced of was the existence that held it down by force, because it was most confident in its own strength. At this time, Wu Yu achieved a similar effect. So when the burning heaven pillar could not struggle here in its flesh and blood, Wu Yu took advantage of the victory and pursued it. The two souls rushed directly into the opponent's magic circle world. At a glance, there was a huge sea of fire below. This sea of fire was divided into 9 parts by a well-like boundary, which were 9 colors of flames. In this well-like sea of fire, it burned fiercely and constantly set off a shocking wave of flames. Deep in the sea of fire, you can vaguely see 9 ferocious beasts hiding in the depths. When their bodies move, the entire sea of fire erupts violently and fiercely. Boom boom boom. For a moment, the flames shot up into the sky. However, Wu Yu was least afraid of fire. When he used his flesh and blood to control this upper spiritual weapon, he came here with an advantage. This was the time for him to take advantage of the victory. At this time, with an extremely huge spiritual will, he rushed directly into the 9-layer sea of fire without saying a word. The two bodies entered the 2 seas of fire respectively. Wu Yu found that the 9 beasts were in their respective territories. When Wu Yu attacked one of them, the others would not help. If they helped, the difficulty would increase several times. But even dealing with one alone is not easy. After discovering it, Wu Yu quickly withdrew the body of the devouring heaven to the main body, 2 against 1 head. Although it takes a little longer, the hope of victory is much greater. After all, these are all his souls, and he is not cheating. Boom! The purple beast spewed out raging fire. In fact, each color of fire has different characteristics. Some are extremely hot, some can burn the opponent to ashes, some spread very quickly, and some can produce extremely strong explosions. Return, the body of the devouring heaven is extremely durable and has extraordinary effects. The opponent's attack was completely transformed into its own attack by its black vortex and returned to the opponent. Usually at this time, Wu Yu's body used a strong will to make up a blow. The beast was almost doomed to face the double attack of itself and the opponent at the same time. Wu Yu's flesh and blood confrontation was really serious for these weapon spirits. In fact, they themselves did not recognize Wu Yu very much. It was just that at this time, Wu Yu's violent, fierce, direct, and rough, unstoppable, did not give the opponent a chance to speak, and directly knocked down the beasts on the spot. After all, he had experience in suppressing the Northern Dark Emperor. So in general, this time was smoother than the last time he suppressed the Beiming Emperor. After about 3 days, Wu Yu completely dealt with all the weapon spirits, basically from the outside to the inside, making all the weapon spirits convinced, taking him as the master, and contributing the power of the Dao weapon to him. In this way, Wu Yu's next study of the 450,000 magic arrays will be much easier. When the Yuan Shen returned to its place, Wu Yu's mind changed, and the burning heaven pillar became as tall as his height, and the thickness was between 2 and 3 fingers. It seemed that the volume and weight were smaller, but in fact, it was not. After becoming smaller, all the weight and heat, under Wu Yu's detonation, double superposition, would only be more fiery. Now, Wu Yu looked at this long stick with 9 layers of flames from top to bottom and the murderer's hideous face on it, and he had an extremely strong desire to fight in his eyes.